Woo! And we are back. I am back with another installment of Number One Rated Business Show right here on the Real 1100 AM. I'm your host, Kevin C. Pride. And I am so glad to be back. I have been out for a few weeks with COVID. It tried its best to take me down. But luckily, we was able to fight it back. Yeah. Round two. Yeah. But a couple of things. Let me say this as we get started in this program. We got a great program for you guys today. I got some great guests and some great information for all my business owners out there. But definitely, let's keep it real out here, and let's stay vigilant dealing with this COVID situation, because trust me, it is not gone anywhere. It is still real. You can still get sick, vaccinated or not. So please protect yourself. If you have not got vaccinated, please get vaccinated. If you are on the fence, this is one time I think we all need to kind of just join in together and let's all get vaccinated and stay safe out there. Whew. All right. Joining me in studio today. I've been off 2 weeks, so every time.
I know that's right.
Joining me in studio today, she is the district director for the Small Business Administration, Miss Terry Dennison.
That's great.
There it is. Also in studio with me, he is a local Atlanta celebrity. He is known as The Voice. Mr. Vince Bailey is in the house with us today. And also joining me via phone in a very, very short few minutes, he is a small business expert, consultant, good friend, and one of my personal coaches. Mr. Mark Parham will also be joining us very, very shortly. So real quick, let's go ahead and get some announcements out of the way. If you are in the Douglasville area, I want you to go and see my personal barber over at 6405 Fairburn Road. Call and schedule an appointment today, 770-485-6772. Ask for Melvin, and he will be more than happy to get you an appointment and get you in and get to see him. Let him know that I told you to go see him, and he might even give you a free lineup. Don't quote me on that, though. Lastly, and also, they are definitely keeping it safe over there at Studio 1211, because he would not cut my hair the whole time. Okay. He said, don't come in the shop, even with a mask on. So definitely, you don't have anything to worry about over there. All the barbers are wearing masks, and they are social distancing and keeping appointments to keep the crowds down. We are still racing to read here in the city of Atlanta. So I still want everyone, if you have not, go to racetoread.org, and I want you to sign up to help Atlanta become the city that reads. We have officially surpassed over 5 million minutes read. We are trying to get to 10 million minutes read here in the city of Atlanta. But please go to racetoread.org. I want you to sign up to track your minutes. You don't have to read anything special. You can read emails, you can read instruction manuals, whatever. We just want you to log the minutes that you are reading, so everyone can be proud of all the great things we are doing and the work that we are putting in to make us the city that reads. Well, joining me to the program right now, once again, he is a small business expert. He is my personal coach and one of my good friends, Mr. Mark Parham. How we doing today, Mark?
I'm doing good, man. I was hoping my applause went a little bit longer, but
you want some more?
Yeah, I want some more. Just hit me one more time. All right.
Well, man, we are sitting here with none other than your good friend, Miss Terry Dennison from the Small Business Administration, and also Mr. Vince, the voice, Bailey. Today, I really wanted to, before I even let you get started talking, because everybody on the program already know you. So today, I really want to just have this conversation around, the SBA, some of the programs that are out. A lot of things have been confusing for business owners, as well as what's everything that's transpiring in the COVID area. So definitely, let's start with Terry and tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that the Small Business Administration has put into place.
Okay. Just for those who may not know us, SBA, Small Business Administration, is a federal government agency, and we generally assist businesses to start and to grow. In response to the COVID-19 situation, we have been charged with some specific things to do to help those businesses that have been directly and adversely impacted by it. The two main tools that we've been given are the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP loans, which is a forgivable loan to support businesses with their payroll and related costs, and also other expenses like utilities and PPE cost and operational and vendor related expenses. Also, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL, which is actually a direct loan from SBA's Office of Disaster Assistance, is in place to help businesses with their general business expenses and fixed debt related to the business operations.
Now, for some folks that may or may not be listening, because I know there's a lot of confusion out there, and Mark, I know you get this a lot as well. What is the difference between the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, and the EIDL? Because a lot of folks are confused, and a lot of folks don't even know which loan they got. They just got money. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more, Terry?
Sure, no problem. The Paycheck Protection Program kind of mimics in a lot of ways our regular programs in that you have to go to a participating lending institution. So
Okay.
it's not a direct loan from SBA. We guarantee it on the back end.
Okay.
And then, of course, the key here is that it is forgivable if it meets certain parameters in terms of how you use the loan proceeds.
Okay.
The EIDL is not forgivable, even though it has a 30-year term. Interest rate for businesses is 3.75%.
Wow.
If you're a nonprofit, which is normally a group we do not serve, it's 2.75%. So, but it's not forgivable.
Now, Mark, let me get you in on this conversation. What are some of the things that business owners have been really questioning you about some of these programs?
Before I say that, I want you to ask Terry to open her because I'm sure she has an S on her chest. Because during this pandemic situation, she has been she's been on more panels and helped more people because of the work that she does. I mean, it's just, you can probably run the applause again for her because it's just been she's done a great work in the community. All right. But what people have been asking me, there's been confusion, but a lot of people don't really understand that the PPP is only forgivable if they use the money for what it was intended for. Okay. Meaning that a lot of people to run their payroll is for making sure your employees and yourself continue to get paid, payroll protection, and then you can also pay some of your rent, your utilities, things that help you keep your business going. But a lot of people don't really realize that, and they're not tracking that information correctly. So when they ask for forgiveness, they don't have the paperwork. So the big thing is if you got a PPP loan, you really need to have an accounting system where you're tracking the outflows of your business. So when you apply for forgiveness, you have all the right paperwork.
Okay. Now,
that's the biggest question.
Now, what are some of those things that you can use the PPP for? Because I know that has been a big one. A lot of folks are scared, saying, I don't know if I use this correctly. What are some of those things that you can use it for?
Well, the name of the program really gives you the biggest clue, paycheck. So it really was designed to help employer businesses maintain their employees.
Okay.
While they were able to operate, obviously because of the restrictions due to COVID-19. In order to be forgiven, at least 60% of those proceeds have to be used for payroll and related expenses.
Okay.
The other 40% could be used for very specific things. Business rent, if you rent a location, if you're buying the building, the interest on the mortgage for the business building, and then utilities related to operations. And then additionally, there have been a few things added, such as covering the cost of PPE and other safety and health practices that you have to engage in because of what's going on. Operational expenses. Let's see. Trying to seem like there's one other. Oh, vendor expenses. So paying vendors for services and products that you use directly in your business delivery. Those are the things that have that are covered. But 60% has to be used for payroll and related expenses.
Wow. Now,
and this is inclusive, Kevin, of if you're a contractor, you have your own business. Even though you may not be getting a payroll check, I think you can use your you can use your tax return, can't you, Terry? I mean, your what is it, 11C? What is it, 1120 or something like that?
Yeah. Sole proprietors, independent contractors, self-employed individuals. A lot of times they hear payroll like, well, it's just me. But there is a provision that allows them to get benefit from the program. They would they can use their gross income, which is a recent change on their Schedule C that they file with their tax return, and use that as the basis for calculating the PPP loan amount.
Now, what about me as a business owner? I may not specifically design or pay myself a set salary. Is it still okay for me to take some of that as a business owner as my salary and pay my bills at home? Because even as the business owner, we got to pay them bills too.
Well, it all should be related to the business itself. But the key, once again, is if you are a sole proprietor and you file Schedule C, you may not have a salary, but you can use your gross income because that is in the form of your payment as a sole proprietor, and use that as the basis for calculating the PPP loan amount.
Wow. Now, also the EIDL, let's really get into that one, because I think the PPP, even though a lot of folks are confused, I think that one's a little bit easier. Kind of break down this EIDL and who qualifies and what is the money really set aside for?
Sure. Well, unlike PPP, which was created specifically for this situation, the IDLs have been around forever as part of SBA's disaster assistance for natural disasters and other declared disasters. So it's being applied to this situation. It's a direct loan from SBA, so you're not going through a commercial lender. And it's more broad in terms of the uses, just basic general business operations, which can include some of the expenses that you would utilize the PPP to cover. But there's no specified percentages.
Wow.
It's not like you have to use 60% of the payroll expense. And it's very, your fixed debt costs related to your business operations, your general operating expenses. But it's very broad.
Now, Mark, what are some of the, because you work with a lot of the large organizations in this type of thing, and a lot of those organizations have been hurt. What are some of the things that you're hearing from business owners that they're hoping that someone would do for them, or what other help are people looking for?
Well, one of the things, you keep hearing the word pivot. These business owners now have to pivot and maybe come up with new products and services and new ways to market them. So a lot of times, digital marketing has become a very big issue, because if you don't have a very active website, or you're not really updating it and changing it, when people are out there searching, they're not going to find you. So a lot of these businesses are now looking at really ramping up their whole digital marketing. How do I market to customers just online? Because people used to just come into my shop, or just know about me. But how do I reach more people through digital?
Wow.
Now, so that's a very big issue.
Now, how much does that matter to the SBA when you go in, you start looking for a loan? How much does it matter to make sure that you have the right look for your business? You have all the proper things, such as you got a website, you have the proper presence for your business and this type of thing. Does that come into play at all?
Indirectly, I mean, basically, SBA is going to look at what the commercial lender looks at. So we're going to look at cash flow. And is there enough cash coming in to cover the debt service on our loan, plus your other expenses? What has the owner brought to the table as far as an equity injection into the project?
Okay.
Because we don't 100% finance. You got to have some skin in the game. The experience and expertise of the principals that business is relying on to operate.
Okay. Wow.
Those are the main factors.
Kevin, if I can, I'm a small business owner, and I want to commend the SBA. I mean, they really were the reason to be able to survive during the COVID time as it lay. I mean, whether it was PPP, the EIDL, I was able to take advantage of those programs, and everything that they're saying is true. And again, Terry, can we play that applause one more time?
We're going to wear it out today.
Terry Dennison, everybody. Terry Dennison.
But no, seriously. Now, another thing, this time with the loans and a lot of the different programs, you guys extended this a lot further than you normally do as far as like businesses. A lot of like things were kind of loose. Especially in that first one that Trump did. This second go round, has those requirements changed? Because I know folks that was just filling out a loan and getting money in their account. So the second round, have those requirements changed? Is it a little bit harder to get these loans now, or?
I'll put it this way. I think there've been changes to the processes.
Okay.
I think, first round, everybody was just trying to get money out. And so it's like, well, we'll check on the back end. Basically, we flipped the paradigm so that we do due diligence on the front end.
Okay.
So there will be a check. Yeah, there'll be a check on people's public records, the Treasury, U.S. Treasuries do not pay list. So there's some vetting from third-party sources to make sure that this is a legitimate business that can legitimately qualify for these loans.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you are riding around in your car, if you're watching us on Facebook, you are sitting here with Vince the Voice, superstar SBA director Terry Dennison, and on the line we got Mark Parham. Can I get everybody to just hang on through the break, and we'll be right back after this.
This pandemic has many people suffering. Are you stressed? Are you not sleeping well? Are you suffering from neck pain, back pain, or headaches? Chiropractic can help. Chiropractic is a natural healing art that can resolve many of your ailments. Dr. Williams and Dr. Fowler of Align for Life are board-certified doctors of chiropractic with over 15 years of combined experience. They are located in South Atlanta and are available for your healthcare needs.
If you want to be fine, take care of your spine. Visit them at yourfinespine.com.
For almost 20 years, the Overground Railroad has promoted economic development in the Black community. Now more than ever is the time to come together and join this movement to economic freedom. The Overground Railroad online and print business directory puts you in front of your customers and keeps our dollars in the Black community. It's time. Become a member today. Information at overgroundrr.com. That's overgroundrr.com. Connecting our churches, our businesses, and our community. Join the Overground Railroad today.
Time to make a change.
And we are back right here on the #1 rated business show. Once again, I'm your host, KC Pride. Everybody listening to the sound of my voice, please go and follow my Instagram at I am KC Pride. I'm trying to get a new career as an influencer, and I need to just get about 90,000 more followers, and we can make some money together, okay?
You got it.
Continuing the conversation with the SBA director, Miss Terry Dennison, small business expert Mark Parham, and Vince the Voice Bailey. Mark, you still there with us?
I'm still here, man.
So Mark, once again, like you work with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses. And another question that always comes up for me as well. And Terry and I was kind of discussing this a little bit through the break. Was how do we know about the forgiveness part of this PPP loan? Where do we file this information, and how do we know whether it's forgiven, whether it's the grant? Like, how do we kind of figure that piece out?
Well, the first step is to go back to the institution that gave you the money.
Okay.
They generally have a portal open up where you apply for forgiveness. So wherever you got the money from, that's where you go back to apply for forgiveness. It's usually a portal. You click on it, and you start filling up the information. And it's going to ask you to present certain information like your payroll records, your rent records. You have to be able to show how you spent that money.
Okay. Terry?
Yes. Kind of following up on what Mark is saying, that's why record keeping is very crucial. And I tell people the simplest way to think of it is for a given expense, say your utilities, in and out is what you need to show.
Okay.
In being, I got a bill for the utilities. Out, here's where I made payment, either from a direct payment from my account, electronic transfer, or a check.
Okay. Now, I'll pose this to everybody, especially as we all African Americans. But as Black folks, we have always had this pride about ourselves. I did this myself. I saved all the money myself. I did every dime of my business and this type of thing. In 2021, dealing with all the things that we're dealing with, things being as expensive as they are, is that still the right mentality for us to have?
Wow.
Mark, you go first.
I tell you what, the right mentality is, hopefully we learned it during the pandemic, is that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. If you need money, if you need coaching, if you need back office support, now is the time to ask for it. A lot of the programs that I'm working with now are getting funded to help people. So there's ever a time for you to reach out and ask for assistance, it's now. There are a number of organizations that are out here that are just standing by waiting to help you, whatever way you need it.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely that would be the case. And in addition to getting assistance from our resources as the SBA or entities that we work with, like the small business development centers that can assist you, provide counsel for free.
Wow.
Help you figure out your record keeping, etc. One of the things I think, in terms of a lesson learned to take forward, is collaborating with each other or business owners.
Okay.
That you're both strapped for cash and for opportunities, but what dynamics do you have that maybe you can leverage off of each other, like cross or jointly market or barter for things that you need to operate your business? Really get creative through collaboration with your fellow business owners.
Okay. Vince?
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess the question would Mark, the way he answered, now is the time. This is opportunity time for Black folks. When you want to talk about Black folks, this is opportunity time. There's been a number of resources that have been put in a number of pots and pools and places that can help you move your needle forward, as they say, or help you get your thing going. And so you can't be prideful. That don't even make sense. I mean, no business has made it on their own. They can tell you that. But when reality sets in, whether they Black or white. So now is the time, folks. I'm telling you, it's out there. And with people like Terry and your brother Mark there who are spreading the good news, you need to take it, write it down, go to the website and get busy right now.
Oh, yeah. Now, Terry, you were also telling us you guys got some new programs coming out that's going to help combat some of these restaurants that have had so many problems, as well as the venues.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That was a main criticism of some of the earlier assistance, that these two groups of businesses and entities were especially hard hit and wasn't quite enough assistance for them. So one of the things that we'll be launching is the Shorted Venues Operators Grant, SVOG, which will be geared towards what I would say things related to the arts and entertainment. So, for example, independent movie theaters, small performance venues,
voiceover artists.
those artists, talent representatives, play like theaters.
Now, is this
Etc.
just a kind of change in the SBA? Is it these businesses now? Are we starting to see more value in those that you guys are starting to reach out and trying to help those industries? Because y'all didn't help me in the past. I'm just saying.
No, actually, I think that this is a perfect venue for that, for people connecting with us
Okay.
through this specific grant. Also, the restaurant revitalization grant, because restaurants, as we all know, were very hard hit
Oh yeah.
by this situation. So there will be a grant that will be rolling out in the next few weeks, geared not only towards fixed restaurants, but also we want to say the food trucks, food
Right.
carts,
Caterers.
mobile type eateries.
Now, Mark, I know you're one of those brilliant grant writers because all your grants get funded. But are you? Should we be looking for more so like a grant for our business to try to get some help that way, or should we be looking for a loan?
No, absolutely. The grant is the way to go because you're being given the money to repair yourself, but still, as Terry said, you got to do the record keeping because if somebody grants you money, they're going to want to know, what did you do with it? How successful were you? So you got to be able to track and show the outcomes of the money that you receive. So I think grants are great, but it's just not free money coming from the sky. They want some stories. It's like I had a client last week that received a DoorDash grant for $20,000, but $10,000 of it up front. They had to go through some training through DoorDash to get the rest. So they want to make sure that the money's being used properly. So you have to be able to stand up and say, thank you for the money, and this is what I did with it.
Okay. Now, as we start to open our society again, everything starts to kind of move in the way that we hope everything's gonna start to move. What are the next steps for the SBA? Are you guys looking to create, more new business owners out there, more entrepreneurs, or are we still just kind of staving off all the effects of COVID?
Well, kind of a little of all of those things, because as we know that certain cohorts of businesses come out of these things quicker than others. So there'll still be that recovery aspect, I think, probably for a good part of this year.
Okay.
But for those who are kind of on the front edge, leading out of it, for them, it's like adjusting to the new operating environment post-COVID.
Okay.
And what opportunities that may provide for them. And then are supporting them in that. For example, with our regular SBA programs, 90% guarantee on our main guarantee program, which means the lender's only on the hook for 10%, which would really encourage and incentivize them to make those loans.
Right.
Fees that are usually attached, we're waiving through September 30th.
Okay.
So there's some tools there to kind of get people into the mode of, as we come out, how do we move on to the next stage of our business?
Now, and I'll pose this to everybody. The Black community has really, really suffered, and especially our business community. And that's really where I'm most passionate. My entrepreneurs, my business owners, I feel them. I get it. I go through it too. How can I put this? Do we see us coming out better after COVID, or does it look like we're going to kind of be in the same old boat once again?
Let me go first with that, Kevin. I'm telling you right now, I've seen some amazing things with some of our small businesses. They've made some amazing pivots.
Okay.
So I think the ones that are still in the game, because a lot of these small businesses, whether or not they knew it or not, because they weren't keeping track of their accounting, they may have been dying a slow death anyways. Okay. The pandemic just kind of exasperated everything. And these programs that Terry's talking about, the SBA, a lot of these programs have been there for a very, very long time. Okay. They just increased and ramped them up. So we have to learn that we need to have been taking advantage of the stuff that Terry's talking about a lot before. And we need to make sure that we look and read and go through the SBA site and find programs that are available for us, because they have them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. So I guess the summation is I think a lot of businesses are going to come out stronger. I'm getting calls. I'm seeing people do amazing things. So I think we may be in a good position.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with Mark on that. I think if you made it through,
Okay.
you're really in a position, one, to gain more market and more customers because of people of the businesses that closed.
Okay.
So where are their customers? Where are their customers? Who's going to serve them now? So this is an opportunity. If you're looking to buy something to help you with your business, assets are cheaper because people went out of business.
Okay.
They tend to have their assets be cheaper to purchase. So I think the potential is definitely there, and we're there to help people kind of work through that part of the equation.
I want to again just put the yes to what both of your guests are saying. For me, I've been on my own since 1996, but it was only until about 7 or 8 years ago when I got that letter in the mail that said, "Oh, you ain't been doing the right things."
Okay.
And I changed.
Okay.
And let me tell you, that change was life-changing. And to have your accounting and to have someone who's watching your books and can really navigate through some of these programs has been just a godsend. And so when you say, how can we be on the other end? I actually, one of my mantras is there's opportunity in chaos. So it's time to get busy. Everybody and their mama going to need something coming out of this. We ready to get out the house and spend money and dance and build things and just all kinds of good stuff.
Man, I don't know if I want to do the rest of it too, man. You intimidate me over here. Your voice sounds so much better than mine. He's so rich over there.
Vince the voice, man. What can I say?
Well, we got about 5-6 more minutes. Right before we get out of here, Terry, you can start to close out. Any last thoughts and any other information that you want to get out to our #1 rated audience?
Yeah. My thoughts are, there's definitely lessons to be learned from this whole experience. So even for the businesses that didn't make it, take stock in what could have been done differently.
Okay.
Avail yourself of our resources, the resources of other assistance organizations, to look at what could be your game plan now. Because if you're truly entrepreneurial, you're going to come back in some form of fashion.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So take the lessons that you learned from this experience to go forward.
That's right.
So, you can find more out about us and our programs, full offerings at sba.gov.
All right. Mark?
The one thing that I want people to realize is all about how you look now.
Okay.
People are searching for everything online. So if there's ever a time you need to step up your website, step up your content, how you look, try to think of new ways to market to people, now is the time. All right. So, look different. Take this opportunity to clean yourself up and get back out there again. Update your website, update your look, your photos, update everything, because, people are looking to see, how did you change? How did this affect you? You want to come back stronger. You want to have a tight website. You want everything to be tight so people can see that you came back strong.
All right. Well, Terry, right before I let you go, let me ask you one last question.
Okay.
How important is it paying those taxes when it comes to the SBA and the programs or going to get these loans?
It is very important because it's a reflection. I think our lenders look at it this way and we look at it this way.
Okay.
How you handle your taxes, your personal credit is going to give us some indication of how you're going to handle the business finances and the business credits. So, in fact, we can't, particularly with the federal, but even with state and local, if that's a disqualifier, even before we get to the numbers.
Wow.
We're looking at eligibility first and then the credit worthiness of the deal.
Okay.
If you can't get through that first set of checks,
yeah,
and that would be one of them, then we don't even need to look at the financials.
Oh, wow. Say, get out of my office. You ain't paid your taxes. That's what I'm talking about. Now, one last thing, because I argue with these folks all the time because they got my stuff wrong. The Dunn and Bradstreet number. Is that something that you guys really pay attention to? And is that really something that's credible? Because some of the information that they report, it's like they kind of grabbing vendor information out the sky, but it's not really, a lot of it is not really accurate about your business. I don't know if folks realize that or not. So does that matter to the SBA?
Well, there's a couple things there. You mentioned DUNS number, and then of course there's the DUN actual report.
Okay.
The DUNS number is just a way to identify like your social security number or EIN. But in terms of the actual report, there's actually other sources of business credit reporting that it depends a lot on the lender and what they use. But usually you always have an opportunity to provide feedback if something is incorrect.
Okay.
So you might want to pull it yourself periodically and see if it's accurate. And if it's not, start addressing it before you need it to be accurate.
All right. I hear you. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Instead of interview, I'm gonna have to schedule a meeting with you.
We could do that.
Mark, you still there with us?
Still here, my brother.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, man. Taking time out of your busy schedule. And once again, if anybody wants coaching, wants help, or anything like that, how can folks get in contact with you and follow you?
Just go to Mark, spelled with the C, powerhand.com. You go to my site and then look me up. You can schedule a coaching session. You can find some of the books that I have out there. And I'll just be sitting there. You can reach me through the Urban League of Greater Atlanta. I run the entrepreneurship program for the Urban League. You can reach me there too. Free training, free coaching, everything you need to stay on the right track.
High quality too. High quality.
Yep.
Terry,
Kevin is a product of our program.
I am. And I'm a successful entrepreneur today because of the Urban League. Lastly, Terry, right before you go, how can anybody get in contact with you, or who should they get in contact with if they do need any help from the SBA? Sure. The best way to reach us is through our mailbox, Georgia, spelled out, georgia@sba.gov. Okay. And our phone number is 404-331-0100. All right. One more time for everybody listening. 404-331-0100. All right. I just had to make sure I got that for myself. We'll be right back after this with me and Vista Boys.
This pandemic has many people suffering. Are you stressed? Are you not sleeping well? Are you suffering from neck pain, back pain, or headaches? Chiropractic can help. Chiropractic is a natural healing art that can resolve many of your ailments. Dr. Williams and Dr. Fowler of Align for Life are board-certified doctors of chiropractic with over 15 years of combined experience. They are located in South Atlanta and are available for your healthcare needs.
Auto accident, wellness care, slip and fall. We take care of it all. Visit them at yourfinespine.com.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said it best.
Collectively, that means all of us together. Collectively, we are richer than all the nations in the world, with the exception of 9. You ever think about that? American Negro collectively is richer than most nations of the world. That's power right there, if we know how to prove it.
And we know how to pool it. Join the journey for economic freedom for the Black community. The Overground Railroad. Visit overgroundrr.com.
And we are back right here on the #1 rated business show. I'm your host again. Let me get it deep one time. I'm your host, Kevin. I'm here with Vista Boys. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing all right. How you doing? It's cool being here with you, bro.
Now you trying to sound like me.
No, man, it's good to be here, man. I'm excited. You like what time is it? I feel like I'm in Morning Drive. How much coffee you done had, huh?
Man, I drink coffee all day non-stop.
I know that's right. Bro. It's good to be here with you, though, man. Thanks so much. And great information again that you provided about the SBA loans and the resource. And it is, man. I kid you not. The opportunity. It is opportunity time. I don't care.
Oh yeah.
What position you in right now? Start looking. It's out there.
Oh yeah. Now let's talk about the stuff that you got going on. You are officially you are a vocal coach, or a voiceover coach?
I'm a voiceover coach. I teach voiceover at Clayton State University. Have for the past 12 years, and I do it privately as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is that like? Like when you start talking about voiceover versus and voice acting, is that the same? Okay.
Yep. Voiceover is voice acting. Yep.
Now, what are some of the key things that people need to know and need to be good at if you're going to try to be a voiceover person?
Well, people think that it takes a voice, like mine, and I love these microphones. This is the kind I use at my studio. That it takes a big booming voice or something like that, but that's not the case. Every voice is a good voice.
Okay.
What it's about is being persuasive and convincing. That voice is trying to get you to do something. That voice is trying to get you to vote for somebody or shop at this store or go to this place. And so it's all about, again, voice acting that convincing and persuasive. Voiceover is used in so many applications, whether it be healthcare, whether it be aviation, whether it be, even when you go to Kroger gas station, when you lift the thing to get your gas, somebody goes, "Hey, would you like more octane in your tank?" Somebody did that at the airport. Think about it. And I even got to TV and radio commercials or audio books or, it's movie trailers. In a world where Kevin Pride was the man on the radio, that is the world and it's.
I'm gonna have to get you to do something for me before you leave today.
Hey man, I got one question for you. What's your budget?
There you go. I try to tell folks, man, we got to get our money these days.
Hey. But I check you out, man, because I do video. Video is what got me into all this. I picked up a video camera when I was 16. I'm 58 now.
Wow.
So that tell you. And picked up a video camera and never turned it loose. And then found the microphone and never turned it loose. And so I recognized the Osmo, the Pocket 2, all that stuff. And hey, during this COVID time, the SBA, the PP, all that, man, I was able to, upgrade my gear and all that good stuff. So good times.
No, that's what I did, man. Because, nowadays, the stuff that we have, huge cameras and all that stuff.
3/4-inch decks with a cast iron tripod.
That's what I'm talking about. Now I got this little thing about big as a pencil.
It does everything.
And it shoot 4K video, cinematic, and all of it.
That's right.
Now, moving into this era of content, we talking about video and this type of stuff. How important nowadays is number one, getting that content out there, and then number two, how you produce that content?
Well, I think content is king, and like I've been told you on my own since '96, but I've been working in this field professionally for over 35, almost 40 years. And I worked in government TV, worked at a college. I was a production supervisor for Comcast back in Little Rock. I did morning radio, man.
Wow.
It goes way back. But one of the things when I went on my own, my first time, with the city of Little Rock, that was during the time of JTPA, which is now known as Workforce Investment.
Okay.
And they had all these funds, just like today. They had all these funds, Kevin, and no customers, none of the folks to take advantage of the program. So it was my first contract. We did a 30-minute infomercial, some TV commercials, and in 1 week, 700 women signed up.
Wow.
And I would be in the mall with my kids when they were small, and the lady come on, "Hey, Mom Keisha, and I'm back in school and I got childcare," and and the light bulb went off. And so since then, my trajectory with media has always been about getting information out to people as opposed to dropping it like it's hot or all that kind of stuff. I announced sport. I was at Nine to Dream for 12 years, a PA announcer, boxing, a professional ballroom dance MC. But it has always been about getting good information. And the point about all that sports stuff is I'm not even a sports fan. I care less.
I know, right?
I have yet to go to a Falcons game. I've been here 13 years.
Okay.
I have yet to go. I did go to a Hawks game because, of course,
disappointed.
No, because I got free tickets. No, I had a good time once I was there. If I'm there, I'm ready to work. You see what I'm saying, man? Not that it ain't all that, but that's just, but when you say content, I produce a podcast myself. It's Black Mental Matters on mental health in the Black community, to get rid of that stigma. I've got 66 episodes now.
Wow.
Black Mental Matters. And so content is king. And I think we have so many young people that get into this field, and it's all about music videos and things like that. And I try to tell them, no, man, I will shoot a meeting. That's how I know Terry and them. I've shot meetings.
Oh, yeah.
And I love it. set up one of these things. You got your suit on.
You know, I teach young folks all the time. It's like, look, we might have to go out here and do what you call the boring stuff, but that's how we get paid, and that's how we fund the stuff that you want to do.
That's how you network. That's how you know. I've done for the State Bar of Georgia, GABWA, Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys. Some of these organizations, man, pass me around like a Tijuana taco. And that's the name of the game. Young people, if they are listening and you want to get on in this industry, you can't be doing things like everybody else does. There's a need and a niche out here, and this is a corporate environment. So I applaud you for taking advantage of that this medium to get information out there. This is a corporate environment here. Yeah, it's a music industry, but you got Coca-Cola, UPS, Home Depot, major corporations, not to mention their suppliers and all the organizations that support those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well,
so
whoop, there it is.
now, have you worked on any famous projects that we might know of right off the top?
I was the announcer for the Trumpet Awards several years back. Now Black Music Honors, the Stellar Awards, so things like that. There's a show that airs in syndication called Mentoring Kings. So that's about as famous as it gets. Most of the stuff that I do is between me and the client or a particular audience. This past weekend was the National Bar Association's Gertrude DeRush and Heman Sweat Awards. There was virtual, but I was able to provide the announcer voice for that, as well as produce a short video on John Lewis and C.T. Vivian, and that was this past Saturday.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not about fame. I ran away specifically from the celebrity kind of stuff.
Okay.
They're not paying anyway. T.I. say, man, you privileged to be here. What
Exactly.
Or you sit in the club at 3 a.m. waiting on your 200. I'm 58 years old. I know you've been there.
Man, I used to own a studio, right?
Okay.
Probably about 7-8 years ago. And this is back when I think Young Thug first was getting hot. Dude, wait. 4-5 o'clock in the morning, Young Thug.
Okay, go ahead.
4-5 o'clock in the morning in the club, and I'm like, dude, I ain't young like y'all.
Right.
I don't want to be here like this. I'm gonna go home with my wife. Okay.
I tried. You heard her say James Live.
Okay.
Yeah, you heard it. So I knew those folks at the time, and he was like, man, when they first opened, we need an MC that first night, and I loved them out there, man. But that first night, it got to be 10 o'clock, and then you could drink free. So I had like 2 Hennessy's. They had the first set. And then the second set, man, I'm ready to go to bed.
I know that's right.
Just not coming through the door, but they're doing great out there, man, with great live jazz music. Not a free plug, but hey, just to let you know.
Now you also work with some of the organizations around here trying to promote economic advancement.
That's right.
In our community. Tell us about some of the organizations that you are working with.
Well, I'll get to the one that we have in common, but the NAACP I've been working with for quite a while. Richard Rose, the president there, and we were really busy, man, during last year during the election time. It was just tremendous. And for voiceover people, political ads is man, it was like amazing. Kevin Pride is running for 3rd District councilman, but Kevin doesn't even live in the 3rd District. Kevin lives in the 4th District and hired his nephew for a job at the landfill. Vote for Vince Bailey. Kevin's bad, and man, all across the country was just, crazy election tests. But the NAACP was on the forefront for helping to get Warnock and Ossoff and Biden, the Democratic thing. So the NAACP, great. You and I together work with the Overground Railroad, Harold Alexander. My hat is off. Harold, I met some 15 years ago. It's all about connecting the businesses, the churches, and the community. Saw and caught his vision and have, had the opportunity to meet many pastors and small business owners. That's the kind of stuff I love. And, he is just got the newspaper, just really working hard to reach our Black community. And he's sincere about it, and love that man for all that kind of good stuff. A lot of business organizations, like I said, the attorney organizations. And so, God is good, man. Been blessed to keep doing what I love to do. For just about since I've been 16 years old.
Now, one thing I think is always important to say, why is it so important that we continue to push this message forward and continue to make noise for our community and talk about, the lack of economic power and the type of things in our community. Why is that so important? And it's 2021. Shouldn't we have it by now?
Well, hey, good question, man. But I mean, it's as simple as, if we don't do it, who will? I mean, it's no one else's responsibility to teach us how we should do our things. And so, and that's where the opportunity is too. My kids, I won't use that analogy, but I always talk about, why are you running downtown when there's $1 million in your neighborhood right around you? So, again, for us, we have got to put the messages out there, share the information, and that's a problem. Many times there are those who have the keys and will not share those keys for whatever reason. We got to stop doing that. It's not a zero-sum game. You win, I lose kind of thing. No, we all win together. And it's very important that we take advantage and realize that the minute you do, I know I did not get here on my own. And something as simple as, just for me, yes, I picked up the camera, but then I was in a class, and a man came in there and said, hey, it's an opportunity to go read for the blind. I mean, because this man shared that information, I ran down to that radio station, when I was 18 years old, and man, the rest is history.
Wow.
So, but if he wouldn't have shared that information, I wouldn't, it wouldn't have came my way. So, we have to share and uplift each other. And you'd be surprised. You get the phone calls. I got a book coming to my house today, man. I wish it would have came. This dude wrote me a text message. I can share it with you. But basically, he was an AT&T technician in 2014, came to my house. This is what he wrote in his deal. And you talked to me, Vince, about following my dreams. Now he got this book. And he wrote me on the book, man. So I'm waiting on it to come, bro. I'm waiting on it to come. I kid you not. It's just amazing, man. Yeah. Here's the story right there. I'll show you right. Well, he's sending me the special copy. That's not the email about how he got to me. I think it's on Instagram, which I don't look at too much.
Well, definitely, we're gonna have to get the whole Overground in here. We get you, Harold. Hopefully Aaron and a lot more of the board and a lot more people that support the organization here. Yeah. Now, what is next for Vince the Voice here in the city of Atlanta?
Here in the city of Atlanta, well, I'm actually getting ready to go over to Atlantic Station on May the 15th. The organization by the name of Eco Sneakers is going to have an event. They recycle sneakers, man. Have recycles over 300,000 sneakers at this point.
Wow.
And whether they turn them into mulch for playgrounds and things like that, or give them to underserved communities all around the world, in partnership with the NFL Mothers Association, we're going to have this event on the 15th on the greens there at Atlantic Station. So I'm heading over there. But as far as what I got to do for work, man, I got too much editing. You know how that goes. Man. It's like watching grass grow, ain't it?
Man, I started doing everything live. So I ain't got to worry about it. And you got to edit and post.
Must be nice.
But as we start to open back up, because I know you're a big event guy too.
Yeah.
You got any big events coming up?
I'm going to Nashville Friday, man. I'm gonna MC a ballroom dance competition Saturday in Nashville. I'm driving up on Friday, and that'll be the next. That's what I love doing, man. There's a live announcing, and man, you can't imagine. The waltz, tango, fight. I'm from Gary, Indiana, man. It's called Terry Town, bro. And to be, up there in my bling bling outfit, and to see these beautiful. I've seen a $65,000 dress, Kevin.
Wow.
I kid you not. The dance and swing in. Terry got some beautiful gowns that she be spinning around doing that ballroom thing. And I love music. So whether it's cha-cha, mambo, paso doble, and I get the one, but and listen here, we start at 7 a.m.
Wow.
End at midnight.
Man, please.
Some of the competitions is 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row. Heat number 75. Heat number 769. This will be the cha-cha. There'll be 12 couples on the floor. And cha-cha, please. Heat number 1,248.
You'll get to a point it's like, man, I got to go. I can't no more.
Now, that's when the coffee come in. But it's, hey, man, we playing music. We're in a beautiful venue. And you going home, you know, with a little something in your pocket.
I hear you, man. Ain't nothing better than that.
God is good. Yes.
Well, if anybody wants to get some voiceover lessons, how can folks get in contact with you, support you, and get some training from you?
Look me up. I'm Vince the Voice, Vince the Voice Bailey, but Vince the Voice everywhere. My website, you can. That's the easiest place. It's got all the information, demos, and talk to you. Holler at your boy, and I will get you going in the world of voiceover. No doubt about it. Don't be afraid. It's gonna be all right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Vince the Voice Bailey. Please stay tuned for another special hour. They are working me to death today. My first day back. Y'all should have let me rest. That's all right. But for a special hour, we'll be dealing with racism in education. Coming up, we got John Nwosu. Lord, I hope I got that right. Miss She Kim, Charesha Barrett, and Nichole. Coming up, she is a award-winning author. So
I heard all that, man. How come I ain't get no applause? What's up, dog? You ain't give me no applause, bro. Say about who was this? Who you had to give? Who'd you have, man, on your show today? Who was that brother?
It was Vince the Voice Bailey.
God, dog. There we go. And the crowd goes crazy. Thank you, bro.
We'll be right back after this.
You are tuned into WWE AM 1100.
The opinions expressed during the sponsored programs on this station are strictly those of the program hosts, guests, and callers and are not necessarily those of Beasley Broadcast Group, this station, its staff, other advertisers, or agencies.
Kids follow your lead. Help them stay healthy. Wash your hands. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. And cover coughs and sneezes. Clean and disinfect the objects you touch often, like your phone, the remote, and doorknobs. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. And if you're the one who's sick, stay home. This station is part of the Beasley Best Community of Caring, and we care about your family. For more info, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19.
This pandemic has many people suffering. Are you stressed? Are you not sleeping well? Are you suffering from neck pain, back pain, or headaches? Chiropractic can help. Chiropractic is a natural healing art that can resolve many of your ailments. Dr. Williams and Dr. Fowler of Align for Life are board-certified doctors of chiropractic with over 15 years of combined experience. They are located in South Atlanta and are available for your healthcare needs.
If you want to be fine, take care of your spine. Visit them at yourfinespine.com.
For almost 20 years, the Overground Railroad has promoted economic development in the Black community. Now more than ever is the time to come together and join this movement to economic freedom. The Overground Railroad online and print business directory puts you in front of your customers and keeps our dollars in the Black community. It's time. Become a member today. Information at overgroundrr.com. That's overgroundrr.com. Connecting our churches, our businesses, and our community. Join the Overground Railroad today.
Time to make a change.
And we are back right here on the #1 rated business show. I'm your host once again, Kevin C. Pride. We are in for our second hour. And once again, we are talking about racism in education. So it might get a little bit sensitive today. That's quite all right. Let's just all make sure that we stay respectful of each other and don't nobody put nothing in my comments because I will come find you. No. But I'm gonna let him introduce himself because I just butchered his name a few minutes ago. Joining me in studio, Mr.
John Nwosu. Yeah, I love the fact.
So John, if you will, just real quick, give us 2-minute version, a little bit about your background.
Yeah, man. I like to say I'm a African American. My dad's from Nigeria. My mom is from Mobile, Alabama. I was born in Huntsville, Alabama, from Austell, Georgia.
Wow.
Went to Georgia State University. You know, did a lot of stuff. Right now, I am a human developer and the CEO of the company Think Diff, which stands for Diversity, Inclusion, and Fairness. I also am, you know, a husband, new father, got a 10-month-old at home. Shout out to my wife.
Congratulations.
Yeah, appreciate it.
No, that's like.
Yeah, and my son Jacob, you know, got a big family. I really, you know, wouldn't be here without them. And then I recently won College School Counselor of the Year.
Wow.
For all the middle schools. And so, you know, I'm really thankful about that. And you know, I'm just here to, you know, try to help everyone rise in a way that's not causing other people to fall.
Well, I'm definitely thank you for joining us in studio today. And on the line with us, her name is Kim. She is the CEO of Pure Edge Incorporated. Miss Kim. Did I get it right? Because I'm butchering names today.
No, you did. My name's Kim.
All right.
Honored to be here, and thank you so much for allowing me to join this conversation. I'm really grateful.
Oh yes, and thank you for joining us. And just to put this in context, you are a part of the Asian community. Am I correct?
Yes, I'm Korean American. Yes, it's correct.
Beautiful. Now, tell us a little bit, first off, about Pure Edge.
Pure Edge is a private operating foundation, and what we do is we provide direct service to about 100 school districts and state and about 4 state agencies, really trying to address the neuroscience of stress. And we have all free resources in English and Spanish. So our charge is really trying to support the adults and the educators who serve the children in the country.
Wow.
Through the school systems.
Now, you said how to cope with this stress.
Yes. So we've been focused primarily on the neuroscience of stress, just focusing on the physiology of what stress does to the body. And I think right now, especially, you know, pandemic has exacerbated things, but prior to that, just stress in education in and of itself, high turnover rates because of stress, particularly if you're not, you know, if you're an employee in a school district or in a school that has, you know, let's just say lousy leadership and it stresses you out. I mean, it just compounds. So the turnover rate is anywhere from the first year through, you know, before the 5th year of teaching. If you're a teacher, it costs anywhere at minimum like $3 to $5 billion annually for the turnover in schools because of having to rehire and trying to, you know, find great educators to replace. So that's actually how we started, and we ended up just going through. And since the pandemic started, we've been serving. We've hosted over 650 webinars, all free of charge, since last March. So
wow,
we're trying. Yeah, we're trying our very best to just be of service. That's really our goal, is to be of service.
Now, John, tell me a little bit about some of the stress educators go through, because y'all get a whole 3 months off in the summer. Okay, I don't get 3 months off.
Yeah, man. So first of all, I just want to say, you know, I'm very thankful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to have me. Secondly, I want to say it's not 3 months no more. I don't know when that stopped, but right now it's about it's roughly 2 months because you have to come back from pre-planning. And the reality is that there are all kinds of stressors, especially depending on what school you're working at. I work at a Title I school. So about 90% of my kids are eligible for free and reduced lunch. So that means that a family of 4 is making less than $48,000 a year for 4 people, and that's before taxes. So if you can think about how much housing costs, how much all these different things cost, think about the quality of life that you can make making $48K a year trying to take care of a family of 4. And that could be one adult and 3 kids, or it could be 2 adults, 2 kids, something like that. So the reality is that we have kids that are worried about food. We have, you know, we're dealing with housing insecurity, and then we're also dealing with just social emotional learning skills. Like you might have heard them called soft skills, but everybody has a different way to navigate. So things that you do at home may work at home, but at school they don't work. They may get you in trouble. They may get you sent home. And then if you get sent home, then you're missing school. So, you know what I mean? So there are all types of things that are going on with our students, and that stress that our students are experiencing and bringing to school, the adults have to deal with as well. So you have to support the kids. Teachers aren't on. I'm a counselor, so I support from the social, emotional, mental health standpoint a lot of times. But we have a lot of teachers who have to learn about things like how to deal with trauma, how to deal with other folks' trauma and their own, because if you're working in an environment where sometimes even, we've had situations, and I want to say that most of our students and most of our families, they do what they got to do to make it to the next level. They try to figure out they might need some help. We get them that help, and they make it to the next grade with fairly few problems. But we have some situations where like there are naturally going to be some friction between what the teacher thinks is best and what the parents thinks is best.
Okay.
And so we have to navigate so many different things. And if it doesn't matter if the leadership is top notch or not, you're going to deal with stress in the education system. And then on top of that, you got social media. You got kids who are legally, you shouldn't even have a social media profile before the age of 13. And kids are having phones in elementary school. So they're developing a lot of really harmful habits before they even get to the age to be able to process what's actually happening to them.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So it's all kind of stuff that is going on, but especially when you throw social media in the mix, especially when you throw in racism, sexism, heterosexism, all of these different systems of oppression that kids also have to navigate. And all the general struggles of just being a middle schooler, like they have to deal with that. That means that we have to deal with that as adults. Ton of drama on top
I
of
got
that.
a middle school. Now, specifically, coming back to the topic of racism and the event. Number one, thank you so much, Ms. Kim, for sponsoring the Helping Educators Be on the Right Side of History Summit coming up April 24th from 8 p.m. to 4 p.m. is a free summit that you can find out a whole bunch of information all over the place. But go to CHARPDEI.com and you will get all the information about this great event. So Miss Kim, talking about
you have to call me Chi.
All right, T. I'm so scared. I'm trying to find the safe parts of y'all name because I keep messing them up today. but no, tell me, about some of the stress and this type of stuff, dealing with, teachers. What are some of the things that you guys are talking to teachers about or hearing from teachers dealing in this environment that we're in right now? It's so many social justice issues out there. We have, hate in the Asian community, just another African-American killed by the police. I mean, it is just so much going on. What is Pure Edge doing?
Yes, I want to back up for just a second and just allow my background. I wanted to just share. I was a teacher in South Central in the 90s during the LA riots. So, I'm Korean American. I'm in a predominantly Black and Latino community teaching. And then the riots happened when Rodney King's verdict that came out. So having sort of been in the teaching space there, as a teacher, principal, and superintendent, having sat in that space and then watching the evolution of nothing changing over time, it's heartbreaking. I just want to make sure that, the context for me, I can't wake up another day and have this world be so cruel every single day.
But no, you said something so powerful. Nothing is changing. Why?
Right.
Why is that?
Yeah, go ahead. In my opinion, I think it's systems protect systems.
Okay.
Right. And people are trying to change the system. And I think this whole notion of when people are starting to lose power or feel like they're going to lose power, all of these things are happening in real time. And it's just trying to get this momentum, right? Where it's like the momentum of, the trajectory of trying to get to the other side of good. Like once you keep going up that hill, at some point we got to get to the top and start running down the other side.
Wow.
So I just feel like that's one thing. So it's a heartbreaker for me personally. I'm 53 years old and it's heartbreaking. I can't even say it any other way, right? And I grew up in a pretty racist household with not my mom, but my dad. We're immigrants. And so I think everything that's happened in the last, sort of few weeks has impacted me personally, but professionally, I would say what we're trying to do at Pure Edge is just serve the humanity, right? Like John, you're a, counselor of the year. Well, John's taken on all of the secondary trauma from his own kids, right? He's got a family, a young, 10-month-old, all of that. And our real aim is to make sure that he knows how special and how important he is to the community. And so we really are trying to give tools to as many of the adults who serve just so they can stop to take care of themselves. I know that all of the stress, the racism, the hatred that we are all sort of struggling with right now, that takes an incredibly negative toll on the body physically.
Oh yeah.
And that part of it is what we're trying to just at least give some exposure to. And I think with COVID, it's just exacerbated. And we do know that all of the rates, when you look at all the data, the disproportionate and extraordinary proportion of Black and Brown communities that are impacted by COVID, by death rates, all of it. And so we're trying to do our small part, honestly, Kevin, just to try and be a part of the solution.
Now, John, let me pose this one to you. How does racism show up in education? Like, what does that actually look like?
Man, I think that's a great question. And
yeah,
to be completely honest, it's invisible a lot of times, right? You have to actively work to be able to see it. So in the classroom, it could, like I mentioned before, you may have different cultural norms at home, things that help you succeed from a day-to-day basis when you're at home in your neighborhood, but in your school system, it may get you in trouble. And so we just assume that some of the things that we teach are just normal for everyone, but we don't take the time out to really have culturally responsive conversations to say, okay, if this is what's helpful for you, let's figure out what that needs to look like in the classroom and try to meet in the middle. So we have kids who are getting in trouble for doing things that they've always done, and no one's ever explicitly explaining to them, okay, that's cool if that works there, but here, this is how you win in this environment. So that, I would say, that's probably the first thing, is that a lot of kids are getting in trouble for things that really are normal for them. Wow. And so that happens on a regular basis. So now on top of that, I did a lot of research in implicit bias. And so implicit bias, really, it operates unconsciously and quickly, and you don't even realize it's happening until after the fact. So if, for instance, there was a study done out at Stanford, and they basically asked teachers to look at a list of referrals, and they had different names on the referrals, but they never talked about the race of the children involved. So you might have a referral from a kid named Darnell, and then a referral from a kid named Jake. So what they found out is that the teachers will respond to the first incident at about the same rate. They still would suggest that Darnell needs to get a referral more often than Jake, but it was about the same. What they found out, though, is the second time they will be way more likely to punish Darnell, and they will remember, oh, that first time I let you slide, so now I'm gonna have to punish you even more harshly for the same types of behaviors, right? And so what we see happening a lot of times is there's over criminalization and stereotypes that associate Black, Indigenous people of color with being a threat and being more dangerous. And so in response to those stereotypes, to all of these different ideas about Black, Indigenous people of color that you see in the media, that you may have had in informal conversations growing up, we're seeing that impacts the way that we deal with folks. So it shows up in our discipline, because if you're Black, you're more likely to get written up for the same behaviors. And the last thing I would say is that it also shows up in the type of opportunities that kids get. So if you look at a Black person or a Latino person, you're less likely, for a lot of teachers, they're less likely to recommend that student just based off the strength of who they are and how they're performing for advanced classes. So for gifted and talented from a young age, you see also on the flip side, they're more likely to associate white people with being smart and Asian people with being smart. But it's so complex, because depending on the type of Asian you are and how you look and what type of class you fall into, right, you may experience some different types of things as well, because colorism exists as well. So it's so complex, but the reality is that when you look at the data, Black people and Indigenous people of color tend to be overrepresented when it comes to negative stuff, and they tend to be underrepresented when it comes to positive stuff. So it impacts you. And the last thing I will say is that it all accumulates, right? So if you had a negative experience in school, if you don't like coming to school because school is not a safe place for you, you're going to more than likely do things that either get you in trouble so you don't have to go, or you're just going to try to avoid school altogether. So what does that mean for the rest of your life? Right, you're being set up for failure, and of course you have choices to navigate and you have agency. But at the end of the day, if school is negative, you're going to do what you need to do to avoid that as much as possible, and we're seeing that happen as well.
Wow. Now, see, you said you grew up in a racist household. How does that manifest in the Asian community? What does that look like?
So we were immigrants. I moved to the United States when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
And so, I think, my parents, it's typical, right? They owned a liquor store and, always looking out for people stealing stuff from the store, all that kind of stuff. And it would just come home in a way that, I knew. It wasn't explicit until I got older.
Okay.
And one of the things I will tell you is that, when we got here, my parents were like, put your head down, just work hard, because we don't want you to stick out. They were, we were on a green card. They were trying to get citizenship and all the other stuff. So their goal for us was to acclimate. So I didn't have any Asian friends or any, we weren't around because my parents didn't want me to have an accent. They wanted me to be, assimilate. It wasn't until I got into college, actually. I took Korean class at UCLA. I took Korean history, that I started to discover actually who I am, just from my own background.
Okay.
Because I was taught pretty much to just blend in, don't stick out. And I think one of the things that I want to just acknowledge John when he was saying that this whole model minority myth is so harmful for the Asian community. There are deep pockets of poverty in the Asian community, and it's just never highlighted in a way. And we don't even count in the data, right? We're considered insignificant.
Wow.
In terms of the data. But, I think it's just one of those things where you just have to figure out where you want to start and how you just get out and get up. And I think one of the things that, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your statement. I'll ask after.
Yeah, I think John was talking about behaviors and how racism shows up in schools. One of the things that I think school systems across the country, they end up over policing kids.
Yep.
And it's all about behavior control. It's about, expectations of what's going to make the adult feel safe, as opposed to what's going to make the child feel safe. When you've got a student that comes to school and they are experiencing tons of trauma in the household and they don't feel safe in school, that whole idea of the neuroscience, once you feel like you don't belong, and there's a whole body of research, if you don't feel like you don't belong anywhere, especially in a school system or in a classroom, you automatically go into fight or flight mode, period.
Wow.
That is just a physiological response. And so if you're automatically in fight or flight, we're already all wired for negativity. That sets up, systems for failure. And that is what's really hard, and really trying to turn this whole notion of education in a different way, where we actually work our tails off to try and get the adults to just understand that there's a lot of trauma coming in, really having trauma-informed and trauma, really like healing-centered practices.
Okay.
That will allow kids to come into a space, feel safe. And once you start doing that and building relationships, I'm just so grateful that John's on this call. I just feel like he knows better than anyone, right? That relationship with the adult, regardless, is key to how a child is going to feel when they enter any setting.
Well, lastly, because we're coming to a close on this segment. But lastly, one thing I would like to ask, being an immigrant, what does it feel like being the victim of that type of racism and discrimination? How does that feel for you?
Me personally, I will have to say, when all that was happening, at the salons, and all that was in the news, I had gone all of the racist remarks and all the things I'm reading on social media and the way it was framed. I experienced that whole set and range of, vitriol directed at me when I was young. So It's like I said, things haven't changed. And so what are we going to do? Sit back and not do anything, or try and figure out ways that we can together and just figure out a way that we can build alliances and allyship in a way that's not performative, but really just, baby steps, like talk, align. And I think that's one of the reasons why, when Charesha actually asked about sponsoring, I was like, of course we're going to do that. And one of the main reasons is we do know that even for sponsorship for conferences that are led by people of color, that they have to work twice as hard, sometimes 10 times as hard to even get funding. And that's something that we just don't want to happen. So we kind of want to just, our actions, we want them to speak for us as opposed to our words. And so as part of the reason why we wanted to sponsor the conference and allow folks, and it's because it's teacher-led as well. We think that's an extraordinary way to support the community.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. And lastly, before we get out of here, if somebody wants to support you, or if somebody wants to find out more about your organization, how can someone do that?
Oh, you can just go to cheeredgeinc.org, and our website is there. All of our resources are free. There's never, ever a charge. So we have videos, we've got stuff for support, we've got curriculum that's free for pre-K all the way through grade 12. So thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this conversation.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we will see you on the 24th.
Thank you.
Thank you, She.
So right after this, we'll be right back, and joining the conversation, we will have Miss Charesha Barrett, and very soon in the program, also Miss Nichole Shabazz.
This pandemic has many people suffering. Are you stressed? Are you not sleeping well? Are you suffering from neck pain, back pain, or headaches? Chiropractic can help. Chiropractic is a natural healing art that can resolve many of your ailments. Dr. Williams and Dr. Fowler of Align for Life are board-certified doctors of chiropractic with over 15 years of combined experience. They are located in South Atlanta and are available for your healthcare needs.
Auto accident, wellness care, slip and fall. We take care of it all. Visit them at yourfinespine.com.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself said it best.
Collectively, that means all of us together. Collectively, we are richer than all the nations in the world with the exception of 9. You ever think about that? The American Negro collectively is richer than most nations of the world. That power right there, if we know how to prove it.
And we know how to pool it. Join the journey for economic freedom for the Black community. The Overground Railroad. Visit overgroundrr.com.
And we are back right here on the #1 rated business show. Once again, I'm your host, Kevin C. Pride. If you are watching online, or if you're driving around in your car, pull over right now and go follow me on Instagram. I am KC Pride. Please follow me to keep up with the show and everything that we got going on. Joining me to the program right now, she is actually the host of the Helping Educators Be on the Right Side of History Summit, and she is on the line with me right now, Miss Charesha Barrett.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
We are doing just fine.
I am sitting here with Mr. John Nwosu.
There it is.
Got it. So tell us a little bit, Charesha, about the summit coming up, and what this summit is, and let's just start right there.
So last year, my company, Sharp Education Consulting, became a supporting organization of Teach to Lead. Teach to Lead is a national initiative led by the United States Department of Ed, ASED, and also Teach Plus. And as a former teacher, after seeing all the stuff that was going on last year, I wanted to be a part of the solution. So that's why I decided to launch Helping Educators Be on the Right Side of History. One thing as an educator, I noticed that a lot of times people just don't have a strong understanding of why things are the way they are.
Okay.
And as a diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioner, whenever I do presentations, I make sure I incorporate a lot of informational text so people can have understanding on why things are the way they are. You know, a lot of times people say, "Oh, as black folks have the same opportunities as whites." That's not the case, okay. And because we don't have the same starting point. And so I just really wanted to figure out how can I create a summit in which, given the teachers the tools that they need to be able to create a diverse, equitable, and inclusive classroom.
Wow. Now, how important is that, John, for this having this diversity in our classroom and education and everything? How important is that?
And it's super important. And, you know, coming from a household that, is African American and Nigerian, and then even our own household. My wife Chanel Joseph Nwosu, she's amazing, but she's Caribbean. You know what I mean? So diversity is everywhere. It's everywhere.
But you keep saying American and then also Nigerian.
Yeah.
Please make folks understand the difference.
So like, you know, I grew up here. I was born here. If my dad was born in Abia State, Nigeria, he speaks Igbo. You know, my mom was born here.
Okay.
And so the reality is that being Black is your racial identity. And so Black people exist all throughout the world.
Oh, yeah.
But your ethnicity can be many different things. It's kind of like, you know, Starburst. You got red Starburst that could be cherry, but then you can have red Starburst that's watermelon. You know what I mean? So they're different ethnicities, but the same race. So, you know, there are some things growing up that I experienced that really impacted my life. And my wife can say the same thing. She's dope too. But we had to go through all types of struggles and challenges about fitting in. So now everybody is real hype about Afro beats. Everybody likes to rock, you know, dashikis. Everyone wants the traditional clothing. But growing up, I was slightly embarrassed to wear that stuff out into like a regular setting, you know, and I was kind of made to feel that way because people would call us African booty scratchers and this and the other. And I had a strong support system. I had a strong community. Both my African American side and my Nigerian side were very supportive. So I learned about Black history and I learned about, you know, Nigerian Western African history and a lot of that. So I was able to overcome all of that stuff. And so it didn't impact my ability to focus in the classroom. But if your goal is to go to school to learn, and you already know how it feels sometimes when you didn't get a good meal, or you in sleep right, or you got in an argument with somebody before you came to work, it can be a lot more difficult to do what you got to do, even basic, simple stuff, right? So as an adult, you've developed some skills, hopefully, to deal with that stuff effectively, so you can still do what you got to do. As a kid, you have to pick that stuff up. And so there are a lot of kids who, because of how they show up in the world, they're faced with extra stressors, right? Because like I said, everybody has to stresses to be human. You know what I mean? Everyone has stressors. But depending on how you show up, you're going to have to worry about other things that make it even more difficult, that take, like Charesha said, that you know, change your starting point, or it takes away some of your mental abilities, your executive functioning skills that you would otherwise use to learn math, science, social studies, and English. Wow. You know what I mean? So it's all about being able to focus on what you need, and depending on how you show up and how people treat you because of how you look and who you are, it can make it more difficult for you to succeed.
Now, Charesha, when you initially started this, of course, your heart was in the right place, and like you told me, you wasn't trying to hide anything, we ain't trying to sneak nothing in on nobody. Did you? How can I put this? So, helping educators be on the right side of history, we have taken quite a bit of backlash from that. We've received, you know, quite a bit of negative comments, you know, kind of, you know, racist stuff here and there. So, explain to us, number one, why you chose on the right side of history, what you kind of meant by that, and well, let's start there and start dissecting some of the stuff that we're hearing.
So, you know, when I thought about the title, I thought that it was about a way in which, because we know the country's divided, you know, especially with this political polarization. But what is our responsibility as teachers? Our responsibilities as teachers is to ensure that we give the students what they need so they can have a seamless transition from high school to college. Know how to be critical thinkers, problem solvers, learn how to be able to analyze information. And so a lot of times when we think about that, you know, as teachers, we have to make sure we give them everything. If we think about teaching tolerance, since now it's learning for justice, recently some years ago, they evaluated textbooks. And only when the textbooks, 63% of the textbooks, that's what they received on scores, because most of the people represented in textbooks are white men.
Wow.
As the country becomes increasingly more diverse, it's imperative for students to be able to see themselves represented in the curriculum, where it might be books, where it might be, you know, anything where they can see themselves, because when they see themselves, they're going to perform better. And so I just really wanted to understand that in life is difficult. And I wanted to try to give the teachers the tools to conduct crucial conversations in their classroom, because as we already seen what happened on January 6th and what happened last year, it is important for us to be able to help these kids be able to maneuver the world. And also, there are so many stories, my goodness, that I've never heard of. And I learned so much this last year, especially with COVID, being confined in the house. I spent my time, really enhancing my history. And I learned a lot. And so it's just important for us to start telling those stories to students.
Now, I'll give you one experience as we kind of move into some other parts of this event. One of the big experiences that I have had was it's around about the 5th grade. And this is when, especially for African-American kids, this is when we are starting to be taught about slavery. Me personally, I grew up in Alabama. So I was raised up in Montgomery public school system. And basically it's kind of glossed over. And it never really, it never really goes into too much of right and wrong and this type of thing. But it kind of leaves African Americans a lot with an inferiority feeling. I kind of felt it. You kind of feel lesser than white people for whatever reason. Now I have a 13-year-old daughter in the 5th grade. She goes out in Paulding school system, exact same thing. And when I saw it happen to her, it almost brought tears to my eyes. And that's when I realized we got a problem. Now, either y'all doing this on purpose or somebody's just ignorant of the fact of what y'all are doing to people. So let's move into the equity conversation. What does that mean in the classroom?
So when I explain equity, I look at it as I compare it to equality, right? Okay. So equity is equality would be everybody in the school gets a brand new pair of shoes, but they're all size 6 and they're all Nikes, right? Okay. So if you don't like Nikes, if you don't need Nikes, if you don't have feet, too bad you got Nikes, right? Okay. So some people that are gonna be like, oh, bet I wear size 8. You want your shoes? What you gonna do with them? How you gonna you know what I mean? But equity is okay. Everyone gets shoes, or everyone gets what they need, right? So if you do want shoes, you can get some J's, you can get some Louboutins, you can get some Stacey Adams, whatever you need. We'll have that conversation to figure out what best meets that need. And equity is important because everyone's different. No two people are exactly the same. And I look at it like a Venn diagram, like 2 circles laying on top of each other. There's always going to be some overlap because we're all human. We all have that in common, right? There are some things that we always going to have in common, but there are also always going to be things that are unique about us. So, way back, around the turn of the 18th century to the 19th century, they had this industrial revolution and they were like, we're going to divide labor and we're going to need people to be able to work these jobs. And that's kind of still the idea, right? We're being trained to work a factory job. We're being trained and prepared for a world that no longer exists. And equity is super important because before we used to treat everyone like they were the same. Okay. And now everyone is increasingly more different. Like our education system was built, it was designed with middle-class white children in mind. Okay. But now we're a majority, like Cobb County is a majority student of color district, right? Like I think a few years ago was the first year that there were actually more students of color than white students in kindergarten. Wow. Right. That was just a few years. So if we're on trend, if we remain on trend, the reality is that the stuff that was traditionally designed to teach a certain group of kids is not effective in teaching all of the different kids. So equity is not just important for the students, but it's also important for educators, because if you want to keep your job, you need to know how to effectively educate the kids that you have to work with every day and support those families as well. It's important for the school system, because if you want to keep your accreditation, you have to effectively be able to support the kids that you work with on a daily basis, right? It's important for our country, because if we're supposedly the best country in the world, we have to be able to effectively educate and prepare all of our students to meet the world that is ahead of them, not the one that no longer exists.
Wow. Charesha?
So he said the same. He said the same thing, because when we think about equity, we're thinking about, so a lot of times, right, people get mixed up between the terms. When we think about equity, we think about fairness. When we think about equality, we think about sameness. And as I stated before, we do not have the same starting point. If you think about, so for example, if you think about as individuals, we have multiple identifiers. Mm-hmm. If you think about a black child, a Black male child with disabilities, that child is going to have a problem surviving in a traditional classroom because of implicit bias. And so a lot of times, if you think about special ed classes, there are so many Black boys placed in special ed classes where they're not supposed to. Wow. And it's about trying to figure out how do we have to develop these individual learning plans for every child. Yes, sometimes it's unrealistic, but we really need to focus on personalized learning so we can make sure that we meet the needs of every child. And the other thing is that, a lot of times, especially in a setting as, for example, a lot of times, I don't know how, I'm based in Ohio, but I am usually the only Black teacher. There's so many, when we think about teachers, 80% of the teachers are white, 80% of them are white. And so when we think about that, and that'll be good to ask John, he's a counselor, and even think about, I think only 2% of the teachers are African-American males. And so a lot of times if kids don't see people that look like themselves, they don't perform. And there is statistics out there supporting that if a child of color has exposed to a teacher of color, that they'll end up having more opportunities. So there's a lot to think about.
Well, the reason why I started with this story, because we are talking about, the conversation of equity, and the main thing that you made the mention of, most of our history books are pretty much just filled with Caucasian males. Is that equity? Is it?
Of course not.
I'm just saying, is that kind of fair to us? And then the other side of that is, though, okay, let's say we change the books, we're gonna make it 50-50. All right, now here comes the next ethnic group they want in. Where does it end?
Yeah, I think the framing is off. You know what I mean? It's like it's a win-lose framing, and the reality is it should be that it's truth, right?
Okay.
And history is so complex that a lot of times it's more about putting the pieces together to make a more complete picture versus documenting exactly what happened. Because if you just think of a game of telephone, you ever played telephone when you was little? You know what I mean? Like you have people throughout the game who sometimes purposely mess up the message. You know what I mean? And sometimes people just mishear it, and you may even be just dealing with 30 people. Try dealing with 300 billion, you know what I mean, over the course of many different years. That story is going to look different. So it's important for us to be very intentional about how we tell those stories and who is included. And we need to be intentional about including as many people as possible. Now, the thing is, to Charesha's point, man, if you're constantly being framed as the loser in the story, the chances of you winning are going to be less likely. You know what I mean? Whenever the conversation of anyone that's not white typically shows up in education, it's from a colonized perspective. You know what I mean? Which means that you've lost. And so you're from the jump being framed as someone who is subservient, who is inferior in some way to anyone else. That's the starting point for your story. And that's because it's being told from a very particular perspective. Now, I think we can be a lot more effective in delivering these stories. And in reality, especially since we're talking about Black people right now, we are the oldest humans. You know what I mean? And we like so many of civilizations that we consider to be great, the Greeks, the Romans, they built their stuff off models from Africa, right? From different civilizations in Africa. And so all of that is excluded. And if you just start with the boat, and then you don't even frame it effectively to say that there were some people who tried to get captured, but they were revolting, right? That Killmonger situation was real life. There were some people who was like, yo, throw me in the sea. I'd rather do that than go over there on these boats, in these chains, right? Oh, yeah. There were also people who took over slave ships, you know what I mean? And went and built their own civilization or their own, space after they did that.
It took years for that movie to come out. It just showed them taking over the plantation when they revolted.
Facts. And so, I'm gonna just wind down a little bit. I'm getting hyped, but no, real talk. There's a place called I think it's Africatown It's right outside of Mobile, and that's an example of you know. And then you have the Gullah Geechee culture that's like off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. There are lots of different communities that they were sustained. They were able to sustain themselves throughout all of these different, you know, travesties. And you know, you don't hear these stories. Wow. You know what I mean? Like they're not gonna. You're unfortunately not going to hear that, whether you're in Cobb or Montgomery County or Paulding County, and even APS. Right, where it's a lot of folks that look like us in positions of power, you're still not going to hear those stories, and that's because of the way that systems are designed. You don't have to look a certain way to perpetuate the system. Wow. Right. So
let's look at some of the reactions. Charesha, I'm gonna read this one and I'll let you respond. And I'm gonna call you out because you said it. So your name is right here. Nichole Shields. She said, "You mean the left side of history? Black children are born victims and white children are born racist, and to top it all off with equitable math and sex education in our public schools, you are using children as a part of your social science experiment." I'm gonna let you respond to that, Ms. Barrett.
Did you say all that? You said all that?
No, that yes.
Teresa, dang, when you
Nicole, yes. I hope she's listening.
So no, here's the thing. Unfortunately, kids they're affected by everything, by their parents, by their peers, by their teachers. So it's not about a left side or a right side. It's about making sure that you are not raising your child. You want to make sure that you're raising your child to be independent thinkers. Because here's the thing. I remember last year with all the racial reckoning, one of the things happened was like I was making comments like it might be like a New York Times post or whatever. I can't remember what it was. And someone said, well, all these teachers are liberals. All teachers are not liberal, first of all. Second thing, they were like, oh, you're trying to force my 5-year-old was getting made fun of because he's a Republican. He does not know what he is yet. Let that child have the time to explore and figure out what he wants to do, what his political beliefs, and so forth. So we're not here. I think our goal as teachers are to guide. That is it. Okay. That is it. To guide and make sure that they have the skills that they need to be successful. We cannot place, of course, sometimes it comes out, but we cannot put our personal thoughts onto our students. We cannot do that. But our goal is to guide them. And so, it's not, I think a lot of times that because of what happened last year and what happened earlier this year, that everybody is so attached to the words left and right. Okay. It's not about that. And there are teachers that I work with who are Republicans and I get along with fine. So I think people have to understand, and John made a good point, all Black people are not monolithic, okay? And so when people understand that as Black people, when we were taken away from the motherland, many of us are not able to trace our roots. We're not. And as Black people, we come from different tribes. But white immigrants are able to trace their lineage, and we can't. And so those are things that I really want to bring to the table, because there are so many things that we don't know about our past because there is no documentation that exists because of slavery.
Well, I would definitely tell you Black folks ain't monolithic, because I grew up in Alabama and I was light skinned and they ain't like me. Okay. I got it from so many dark skinned folks. But no, I definitely agree. Especially when we start talking about, the future of our society, because nowadays you see the whole younger generation. It's like you see a much different picture. But I do need to circle back, and I have heard conservatives consistently say a lot of times this is a liberal thing. This is a Democrat thing. This is politics. Trump put in the pro-patriot education. And we just need to stick with that. There's nothing wrong with the education that they're being taught. So is this a liberal thing? Is this a part of or some part of the Democratic platform?
No. Let me just say this, and then I say this, and I'm gonna let you, John, respond. Let me just say one thing, though. I think that people are just trying to make everything so liberal. As as humans, we're flawed. There is not a single perfect person in this world. We're flawed. George Washington owned slaves. Thomas Jefferson owned slaves. They were great. They were great men. They were great leaders. But it doesn't mean that person doesn't have any flaws. So we got to think about, Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings' relationship. You have to discuss that. You also need to talk about that Thomas Jefferson was a great leader because he wrote that Declaration of Independence. What I'm saying is, as individuals, tell the whole picture. That's it. Wow. Tell the whole picture, and then let people make their own conclusions. And that is really what I'm really focusing on.
And it even goes both ways, because we all know MLK had some issues. Okay, it's not a secret, but he is still regarded as one of the greatest leaders for our community of all time, and probably one of the greatest leaders in the world. To be honest with you.
Absolutely. And I think, Charesha, at that point, and honestly, both of y'all are making great points. And I think the reality is that we are human, and I don't know a perfect human. You know what I mean? And I think that we really don't do well with nuance. It has to be black or white. It has to be polarized. It has to be lukewarm. I mean, it has to be cold or hot, not lukewarm. And the reality is that when you look throughout our history, like even the greatest people, to your point, have done some shady stuff. And some of the most terrible people have done some things that end up leaving a positive impact. And we have to be able to have a critical conversation about all of that. The issue is that a lot of times people want to preserve a particular image or a particular idea, even at the cost of the truth and the reality of what actually happened. And I think it is up to us. We are responsible for what we show and what we expose folks to. And I think we should be exposing a complete picture of what actually happened, and then empowering everyone to be able to make the decisions to figure things out for themselves. And the last thing I would say is that we're attracted to most of the country is moving towards being independent, right? So our political systems have all different types of challenges. Like we have to acknowledge that. But the reality is that part of the reason that we are here is because America is so diverse, and that includes with respect to political ideology. So there may be some things that folks disagree with, but the idea of being conservative and preserving things that helped us get to this point is an important idea. We don't always go about it the right way, but there are people like we do need to preserve traditions. We do need to make sure that we're not just trying everything new that hasn't been proven, right? At the same time, the idea of being liberal and progressive, that idea is important because that innovation wouldn't occur if we're always trying to do the same thing over and over again and not take risk. That eventually lead to some type of reward. So it's important for us to find that balance. I think the greatest disservice is that we're unable to talk to people, no matter what their political ideology is, and figure out the best parts of all of us to create the best picture possible.
Well, adding another voice to this conversation, joining us on the line, she is the CEO of Higher Learning, Miss Nichole Shabazz.
Hello there. Hello.
Did I get your name right? Because I've been butchering folks today.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Absolutely. I'm so glad to be on, Kevin.
Well, thank you so much for joining the conversation. Charesha, she is on with us, as well as Mr. John Nwosu.
There it is.
Got it.
2 times in a row.
And we're just continuing this conversation about racism in our education system, and talking about the summit that we got coming up, helping educators be on the right side of history, coming up April 24th. So please tell us a little bit about Higher Learning, and let's start there.
Okay, so Higher Learning is a literacy, literature, and literary consulting firm that focuses mainly on culturally relevant and culturally resonant reading. And so by that, I mean books that find the way in for children, particularly those who have no interest in reading or struggle with reading. And so we focus a lot in schools on literacy, that piece about being able to read. But what happens is we miss that part where kids who can read don't want to read necessarily because they can't find themselves in literature. And so as a literacy and literature and library expert, that's where I come in to expose not just young people, but educators to that culturally relevant and resonant literature.
Wow. Now, why is that so important for people to have this experience and start to learn about other cultures? Why is it so important?
Well, it's important because literacy and literature are kind of the linchpin to all learning, if you will. And so we focus a lot in school on math and science. That's wonderful. But our children they first have to be literate, and then they have to want to be literary in some kind of way. And so what we know is, and as we've been talking and you're listening to the conversation, just with anyone, we want to be able to see ourselves. When we see ourselves and we are affirmed in some kind of positive way, it lets us know that we're important and that we have contributed something and that we have something to share with the world. And so much of it is about historical context, particularly as it relates to Black people in the United States. And so my goal is to connect those historical dots through culturally relevant and resonant literature. And so we hear a lot about cultural relevance, but I like to push that resonance piece too as well. Something that just really, really meets the heart of young people and pulls them in and encourages them. So it's important for young people, but as I said, it's equally important for educators and librarians. And so I heard Shar mention that about 80% of educators were white females. The same is true in the library world. And so these are the people who are educating and exposing our children to reading and literacy resources. And so they have to also be able to learn and understand and connect the dots. And so a lot of times they're not able to connect with our children because they haven't learned the lessons yet. And so that's a part of why it's so important.
No, you are definitely right. And we cannot stress enough how important it is to see yourself. When you grow up in a world where all the heroes don't look like you, all the positive people don't look like you, and all you ever see is negative depictions of yourself, going to jail, being shot by the police, selling drugs and everything else. I mean, that's some very difficult circumstances to kind of rise above. And very few of us do it. I mean, let's be honest.
Right. And I heard you say too, Kevin, earlier when you were talking about your experience in school and then now your child's experience when you starting to talk about slavery and that whole kind of thing. And again, connecting the historical dots, being true, speaking truth to power. So a Black child's knowledge of themselves should never just begin with slavery. It should begin with the origins, African origins, and we should tell true stories. And when we start to do that and to connect and affirm, then the confidence grows, then the interest grows, and then that critical thinking pops in, and our children are able to sift through a society of information, much of which is untrue, much of which has been distorted. But because they've now got that confidence, they've now got that interest, they now have that ability, they're able to discern fact from fiction and to move forward to make this world a better place. And we want that to be particularly for children of color who have historically been underserved in our schools. But we also want all children to learn truth and to know the contributions that all peoples have made to this world so that together we can turn a corner. And I think that's so very important.
Well, Nichole, thank you so much for joining us. I am so sorry we just kind of ran over on everything today. But tell me this, can you come back and be a guest next week on the show and tell us a little bit more about what you got going on?
I would love to. Yes.
Wonderful. So I will definitely have you back next week because I think we definitely want to continue this conversation and talk more with you. And I know you're here in the Atlanta area. Also, real quick, before we get out of here, everybody, let's start with you. Tell everybody how they can find you and how folks can support you.
Okay, so for me, you can follow me on Twitter at I am that lit lady, IAMTHATLIT lady, and on Instagram at I am that chocolate lady. I am that CHOCLITLADY, and you can email me at higherlearningforall@gmail.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I will have my staff get in contact with you, and we will definitely get you booked to come back and be a guest for us next week. Ms. Charesha, you still online with us?
I am still on the line with you.
Real quick, you got 30 seconds. Tell everybody how they can join the summit.
So please, you can visit the website at sharpdis.com, and it will take you over to Run the World. So click the register button, and it will click you to our Run the World website, and you can register there.
And Run the World is the summit platform. Once again, that is April 24th. Please follow on social media. Twitter, they can follow at Educators Summit. And on LinkedIn, how can people find you?
At Charesha Barrett. Let me spell it. Charesha Barrett, Barrett.
All right, John, close us out, and we got to go.
Yo, you can check me out on all the social media platforms. Think Diff, ThinkDiff, Think Diff Life. Think Diff Life and then thinkdifflife@gmail.com. And then my personal is John J. New. New is KNEW, John J. New. And that's Instagram, that's Twitter, that's all of that.
Once again, it has been another great episode of Number One Rated Business Show. I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for staying tuned in for 2 hours with me. Follow me on Instagram. Once again, I am KC Pride to get all the updates and everything for the show. And we are out.